5.3, collecting data. So here there are two types of studies when we're considering the design of surveys and experiments to collect our data. So we have observational studies, and these are where researchers they like to they record situations or behaviors that are already occurring, and they try to draw conclusions. So for example, a researcher might compare two groups of people, one with members who exercise and another members who do not exercise. And so surveys are typically a form of observational study. Okay. And then we have experimental studies. So this is where we have researchers, and researchers could be even students, try to determine cause and effect by controlling variables. To see the effects on others. So for example, a researcher might randomly choose two similar groups and have members of one group perform rigorous exercise once a day for 30 days, while members of the other group continue with their normal lifestyle. Okay, so think of experimental studies. It's like a machine. You have different levers, and you got to pull or push each lever to try and control a particular variable, right? So you create an experiment, one procedure of doing things, and you have variables that you can alter. Whereas observational studies, think of you're the person doing the observations, you're taking notes, you're gathering evidence, and so it's an observation. Okay. So in experimental studies, you are comparing two groups. So you're comparing a treatment group, so those who receive treatment. Receive treatment being measured. And you have a control group, and the control group are those who do not receive any treatment. So those who do not receive treatment. So think of like a pharmaceutical example. You have testing a new drug. So how do you know if the drug's a good test? You have a treatment group where you give the drug to, and then you have a control group where you're giving them like something like a placebo, just so that you're sure that members taking the study or taking those drugs are not reporting fake results, right? You want to know which ones are genuine, a genuine result of the new experimental medicine you're trying to test. Plus, it's also applicable to other things too, not just medicine, but in surveys in general, and many different studies, research studies, scientific studies. Okay, so three things to occur to determine the cause. So control, randomization, and replication. So control, as many aspects of the experiments needs to be controlled as possible, so that there's an effect to the researchers know what caused it. Okay, so this has to do with the variables that you're using in your experiment. Randomization, when groups are chosen, subjects need to be randomized so that no biases occur in any of the groups. And replication, even though groups are random, when researchers repeat an experiment, they should be similar in makeup so that changes from one group to another are easier to detect. So you do have to this is really important in research, because being able to replicate someone else's research just even goes further to improve or validate or verify the results. Or you can even track changes much more easily when everything is well defined. Okay. Now, you also have to watch out for bias again. So, again, we'll just review a couple of things here. So, you have to watch out for the sampling technique that you use. How are you choosing the people you are studying from your population? So, example, it could be more men to women or more women to men. Maybe that's not desirable in your study. So, think about things that you're doing in your sampling that might cause some bias. Also, your data collection method. What are the tools you're using to measure your results? So, data collection method. Um, so, example, a survey question asks if you agree with the government should continue to waste money is biased because it influences a person's opinion on government spending. So, a loaded question. So, you're saying, well, the government's already wasting money. Should we agree to that? Well, it's a loaded question. So, be careful with the bias in both your sampling technique and the way you ask your questions. Okay, so this is a pretty short lesson. You can read the material in the textbook for this section. What we are going to be doing tomorrow, and you come back to class, is spend the beginning working on our new assignment, and that is how to design a good survey. And we're going to be using Google Forms to help us design our survey. Okay, here we go. And